What's up, beautiful people? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. You know I do. Kuro. Welcome back for another Face Mask and Faith. Girl, we're here. I know, I get it. Shh. It's been a minute. I'm here. We're back. So 2020 is here, and we are going to go ahead and make sure these Face Mask and Faith videos get out to you, okay? So in this video, I have a special guest. Y'all know I try to bring in people that have my back, okay, and will have your back as well, okay? So I have my, first best friend. Who want to think back? My very best friend, Latrice, here today for this video. Hey.
Hey, girl. I'm so excited to be here. So excited. Y'all know, but Holy Spirit kept talking to me about Face Mask and Faith. She told me about this a long time ago, and I kept being like, when you gonna do it? So here we are. I'm glad to be here.
There it is.
It's a good friend for you. Accountability.
There it is. Yeah, Latrice, tell them about yourself. Tell them, like, what's up? What's good? Who are you?
So, I'm Latrice Williams, formerly Latrice Gouch. Some of y'all may know me as that. Janae and I have been friends for 20 years. Wow. Friends, we were 7 years old, in church, so we've been through a lot together, highs, lows, good, bad, ups and downs. I live in Houston, Texas now, so I'm glad that we were able to do this in person.
Yes.
I've been in ministry in various capacities since we were little. Janae and I used to sing on praise team together, pretty much all throughout school, and then in college I started a Bible study, and I've just kind of been doing various women's ministry over the years, and my husband and I actually will be starting premarital counseling in 2020. Amen and praise God. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. Excited to be sharing with y'all some things that we've learned.
Yes, and she'll be starting a podcast soon. I'm saying it.
Ooh, all right. Yes, also starting a podcast soon.
Okay. So in this video, we'll be talking about
lessons this decade taught me.
There it is. Now, of course, a decade. Come on. That's a long time, right?
Long time.
It's taught us a lot of things, but we're just gonna narrow it down and talk about just a couple of things for you. And down below, please make sure that you are telling us what this decade has taught you, okay? All right, so let's do this.
So the first lesson that this decade taught me is really a sense from a false sense of obligation, freedom from a false sense of obligation. So you are not obligated to say yes to anything or everything. I have always been a bit of a perfectionist. I'm very type A. And I also felt like, if someone asked me to do it, that I had to do it, that it was my responsibility, that if I didn't do it, that it wouldn't get done or wouldn't get done right. And God really just showed me, especially over these past few years, that really is bondage, because you're bonded to a false sense of obligation. I'm not obligated to do anything that God has not told me to do. And when I found it many times in which I feel like I have to, even though I don't want to, or my heart is not in it, it doesn't turn out well in general. And I always try to do things in excellence. And I know that if I don't actually feel led to do that by God, then it won't be done in excellence. Or, I take away the opportunity for someone else to be able to grow or to do something, or to get exposure in a new way, just because I said yes when I shouldn't have, I didn't need to, and God didn't tell me to. So freedom from that obligation to say yes to whatever it is that anyone's asking or trying to pull on me. And as women, I feel like we often feel like we have to take everything on our shoulders as well. We have to say yes, we have to do this, we have to do that, otherwise it's not going to get done.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's okay. If it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. And if it has to get done, it will get done.
I definitely agree with that. I feel like too, when we do say yes, sometimes I don't realize, okay, do I have capacity to be able to say yes right now? And so I'm trying to balance all of these things, and guess what? Something's going to get left out, or something's going to get not as much attention. And so that's not excellence, right? We want to be excellent in what we do. So kind of trying to remind ourselves that I think it has to get to a point where we have to realize our sanity matters. Who we are matters. And for me, it's I don't care what somebody has to say. If you feel like, okay, you're not thinking about me, you're not thinking about my feelings just because I said no, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
We have a live audience today.
Live audience.
You can't see her. But yeah, so let us know down below what is some things, or what are some ways that you can relate to this right here, this particular point. We ain't got nothing to prove to nobody.
Exactly. You have to take care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? I mean, really, we all grown now. So you have to be able to protect your mental health, like you said, because there are a million things going on all the time. There will always be someone asking you to do something. There will always be an opportunity for you to step up and do something. So you need to be specific and strategic and intentional about your yeses.
And it's not a missed opportunity. I think that's what I used to do. Like, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to miss out on this, so let me try. And then, like, business wise, I'll try to do one campaign with a hair brand and another one, and then like I forget about one. So it's like I don't always have to like do everything. Like, missed opportunities is like it's gonna be okay. It'll come back around.
God works it all together for our good. Okay. The next thing that this decade has taught me is to write it down. Write it all down. Write down your dreams. Write down your feelings. Write down what God is talking to you about. Just write it down. Because whether it's for this moment in time or whether it's for later on, you're going to want to know or be able to reflect on what God is doing in your life today, what God has done in your life. It's often a good reminder when you're going through something that, you know, God brought me through this in the past. I'm a huge proponent of journaling. I've not been consistent with this, so that is something that we're going to work on for 2020. But journaling, one, just to be able to release. I know that I get my feelings out better when I write them down versus, you know, just verbalizing them to someone. So writing it down to be able to release, but then also to say like, hey God, I prayed about this and you came through. Or God may give you an idea and you know, life goes on and you forget about it. And then 5 years later, you come back across the journal and say like, hey, God gave me this idea. God has given me a couple of books that it's been years and I picked them up and I was like, oh wait, I forgot about that. So you want to be able to be reminded of the things that God is doing, the things that God has done, and what God is placing on your heart, because it'll all come together eventually. This year, 2019, kind of ending off the decade, interestingly enough, has been one in which God has just kind of brought all these pieces together of things that he's taught me, things that he's talked to me about over the past 10 years to say all of that was preparation for what I have for you in this next decade in 2020 and beyond. So write it down. Just write it down. The word says write the vision, make it plain so that people can see it, they can run with it. So write it down.
And I would say that I was anti-writing it down. I'm going to just say what I need to say, right? And so I learned from you and from Amber, hey Amber, is that you don't always have to say something. And y'all, that is something I really had to like understand. So like this is a different perspective with writing it down. What I'm saying is if you have thoughts, if you have feelings about something or how your life is going right now, like you can write it out, get it out. And then for one, what allows me to do is like pray over it. Because I'll kind of forget how I felt at a certain moment. And then I'm looking up like, oh yeah, you never even, you wrote it down, complained about it, whined about it, but you didn't pray about it. So me writing down how I felt about a certain day or how during a certain day or a certain time period kind of allows me to kind of look back and attack with the word that particular problem or that particular feeling.
Yeah, right there.
So write it down, y'all. I type mines, but
whatever
you know
works.
what I'm saying? There are different ways.
For you, I actually write more on my phone now, just because it's always with me. So I'll pull up a note real quick and write something down. And guys told me I wrote probably a good chapter of my book on my phone on an airplane, just like, you know. So whatever works for you. I also have a dozen journals laying all around the house, but. Type it up, write it up, but just make sure you have it written down somewhere where you can actually go back and reference it. Especially your prayers. I love having prayer journals to be able to say like, I prayed over this, and when you can cross things off and say God did that, you look back and say, look at all the things that God has done for me. Okay, put on your praise music and shout. Come on, okay.
Yeah, because I think so too. Like when you can see online and some people say, you know, every time something good happens, you know, write it down and like put it in a journal or something, or in a jar, so that, you know, by the end of the year you can open it back up and kind of look back at you know, everything that was good for the year. Because a lot of us be like, wow, the year really tried me. You're like, dang. But that type of thing can remind you like, okay, you know what, there were a lot of good got a lot of good things that happened during the year too. So something to consider. Okay.
On that note, we actually didn't write this one down, but another thing that this decade has taught me is that gratitude is everything, and that is the answer to so many of your problems. Just having that attitude of gratitude, even when things are going bad, finding something to be thankful for, and writing that down if you need to, so that you can go back and reference that. It cures anxiety. It cures, when you get into those, you can just fall into these places of feeling like, woe is me, that the world's against me and all of that. But being able to focus on gratitude. Brene Brown talks a lot about gratitude as the cure for just thinking that everything's going to go wrong all the time. So being intentional about thanking God, thanking your family, just being grateful for the things that you have in your life and all the many blessings that God has given you, because there's always someone who would prefer to be in your shoes. People always say, there's that saying that, if you were in a room with everybody and everyone threw down their problems on the ground, you would probably pick yours back up, because there's so much to be grateful for. Your problems may be huge in your life, but compared to somebody else's, then, it's just a moment to say, thank God that I'm here. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to instead be grateful and express gratitude during this season, no matter how hard it may be.
Yep. What? Do you want to say something?
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna give y'all some studio audience commentary. I just want to plug into what y'all were saying. That is so true. Latrice probably already knows what I'm about to say, because we did this last week. It was the last week of work before I left for vacation, and I had just called her just a little distraught. And the next day after that, so Latrice will be like, name one thing you're thankful for, because 2019 and the last 6 months, they hit differently than the first 6. And she was just like, what's one thing you're thankful for? So the next day, I just kind of wrote, I was at work and I was feeling high on emotion, and I just wrote down a list of everything good that happened in 2019, because like you guys were saying, you can just get so caught up in all the bad, especially if it's coming back to back. And I know quite a few of my friends who are going through seasons where it's all back to back, and those are the hardest seasons, because you can't see anything else, and the devil wants to speak to you during those seasons and say, you're not, you won't, and the Lord will tell you you can, if you just look at what he's done. And you have to focus on what he's done and what he's doing and what he said to you.
Amen. So the last one that I say this whole decade has taught me is that there is freedom in your transparency. So as I mentioned, in college, I started a Bible study. Shout out to HU, went to Howard University, the real HU, started a Bible study with a few of my friends. It ended up blowing up way bigger than what I thought it was going to be. But through that, I really learned that sharing what it is that you're going through is how you gain freedom. The Word of God says that we are set free by the word of our testimony, and that requires us actually giving our testimony. I grew up in the church, obviously, and with that came a lot of feelings of having to be perfect, and to come off as like the good Christian girl, the good church girl, in that, you can't really say what's going on. You can't really say that you've gone through something or that you're struggling with something. But the thing is that one that makes you more relatable to unbelievers, that makes you more relatable to people who may feel like they want to know God, but they just don't feel like they're good enough, or they don't feel like they can relate in that. So it makes you more relatable, but 2, it's an opportunity for you, 1, to release, because if you hold that inside, then that's another opportunity for the enemy to just feed you lies about what it is that you're going through, that like you're not really free, or you're not really walking in what God has called you to do. So actually speaking that out, being transparent and telling people what you're going through, telling people what you're going through even now, is an opportunity for you to be able to express, and for God to be able to use you in a way that people can relate to you, that people can understand that they're not the only one going through that, and that not only sets you free, but that sets them free as well. So when I was in that Bible study, I remember sharing so many different things about my life, but that's how my ministry really started, was being able to say like, hey, I wanted to wait until marriage, but I didn't. And I wanted to, and I struggled a lot with, like right now in this new season of becoming a mom, I've struggled a lot with anxiety, but God's been able to bring me through. That God is still not mad at me because I didn't make it till marriage. That God continues to be able to use me. That really is what in this generation is what we need. We need transparent and open believers who are going to say like, I don't have it all together. I did not do things perfectly, and that's okay. God still loves me. God's still using me, and God still has great plans for me, and God will continue to bless me. So your transparency, your testimony is not only for your freedom, but for the freedom of others.
And y'all gotta really think about social media, and we gotta bring it up because it is a thing. I don't care what age. Older folks like Facebook, so it's every age, every stage they like social media. So you kind of gotta like separate yourself from that, because social media makes you think like, hey, I don't have my life together, and it kind of pushes me to, like, when I make my posts, and I always have a funny post, and I always have like an inspirational post, but to have an honest post. And I feel like those type of people like get more interaction and more people to also open up with them. So try to start doing that, because you never know who you can impact if you just are honest about them, honest to them. If I can be honest, like the last 3 months of Nate Too Curly, I was broke. Like it was not looking good, my sis. So just letting you all know, like, you can still, get through tough times, and that there's always going to be a way to escape that God's going to create for you. But whatever you have to learn during that phase, just learn. Okay. Don't hate every step. Try to see what you can learn through each step. And but transparency is really big, and I think sometimes the way you even grow up, maybe even in your family, maybe your family is not that open. Right. Start trying to do that, or find friends that you can be open with, because if you're battling something, you never know if that friend or that even that family member could be the one that helps you, or you can help them in whatever they're dealing with. And also too, I can kind of think about high schoolers or people that are going to the next phase in their life. Like, you have to be honest about where you are in your life right now, and so that you're not just going through life guessing, confused, pushing everything down, because I'm a person that likes to just push it down and not really attack what's going on.
And like Janae said, find someone that you can trust and that you can be open and honest with, like and I'm so grateful to have friends like Janae, like Emerald, who I can be honest with and to share like, hey, I'm really struggling with this, or hey, I went through this, and it brings us closer. It strengthens your relationships and makes your relationships more deeper and more meaningful as well, when you're able to share what you've gone through, and it's a part of intimacy, right? It's being open and sharing a new part of you with somebody else. And if you're married, that could be your spouse, but also have friends, because I remember there was one season of my life in which I felt like there was nobody that I could talk to about what was going on in my heart except for Emerald. And Emerald was my person during that season of my life, just because of the season that we were in and the things that we were going through. Like that my like close friend at the time, I couldn't talk to about, because she was in kind of like an opposite season and what I was going through, and I didn't want to put a damper on what she was. It was a very joyful season for her, a very hard season for me. I didn't want to put a damper on that. Couldn't talk to, it was before my husband and I were married. I couldn't talk to him about it because we were going through some things at that time, and a lot of that had to do with what we were going through. And I knew that the person that I could talk to and that would understand, me calling her at 2 a.m. crying and upset was Emerald. So, seasons change, things change, but make sure that you are always taking that opportunity and be led by God in that too, because you don't need to tell everybody your business.
If the decade didn't teach us that, it's having the right friends, And you ain't got to tell everybody everything.
You ain't got to tell.
Even if it's your best friend. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, you just have to know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So that when you open up, you're not going to be rejected on how you opened up to them or what you said to them.
Yeah.
Child. Or your feelings being rejected, your ideas or thoughts being rejected. We don't want that.
Don't want that. Exactly. And, you know, it's okay to have different friends for different things.
Mm-hmm.
Not every friend has to be, you know, you talk to them about every single thing. Because God places people in your lives for different reasons. So, you know, use wisdom and discernment when it comes to that as well, because that'll save you a lot of heartache and heartbreak.
So yeah, we have reached the end of this video. I know it was good. I know y'all was really getting some stuff in there, but I want to make sure that we continue the conversation down below in the comment section. So still go ahead and let us know what you learned in this decade, and I'll make sure Latrice's down there talking, because she's always in the comment section anyway.
Always.
So
like and comment.
there it is.
Like and comment.
And we will talk to y'all down there, okay? But yeah, so I'm so happy that Face Mask and Faith is back. Be sure to look out for more and more. I promise I got your back, my sis. But yeah, as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Peace. I'm not gonna do the double dance because this one a little different.
All right.